Welcome everybody to episode 4. I can't believe I'm already on the 4th episode on this for Screambox Essential Picks. And we have a very, very special guest today. Alex has actually been on the show before. But Alex, before we jump into everything, do you want to go and tell our listeners and watchers what you do? Because you dabble in everything. Like, you are the man of everything right now. So I'll let you go ahead and talk about what you're up to.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me back. Had a blast last time. This time I'm camera ready, so really upgrading here. Yeah, I work for Screambox, so I am very pleased that you decided to launch this. This is really cool. It's always exciting to see like what our viewers are into. Obviously, we have a general sense, especially with our exclusives and originals. Those are always like exciting, but it's fun to kind of dive into the deep cuts and see what people are watching.
Oh yeah.
For Screenbox, I am their publicist. I run their social media and I do some behind the scenes curation stuff. And it's awesome. I'm so excited of where we are, where we're going. We have a lot of really cool stuff coming up this year. Um, yeah, I also, in my spare time, I run Broke Horror Fan, which is a website dedicated to horror movie merchandise and memorabilia. We put out modern horror movies on VHS from time to time. We talked about that a bit on my last episode.
Yep.
I also contribute to Bloody Disgusting, an independent filmmaker. Um, I don't know when this airs, but my new film is playing at Boston Underground Film Festival next week, Reverberance, a short film as part of the short film block. And yeah, just always got something cooking, a bunch of irons in the fire. Got to stay busy.
Yeah, I relate to that. And this will be out probably before that starts. So for
Okay, well
anybody
then
who's going to
come
be,
right now if you're listening to this.
yes, if you're in the area and you want to go check out some like really deep cut films and things that, it says it right in there, Boston Underground, they have a lot of wacky stuff. I unfortunately have to miss it because I have to get my teeth pulled.
Ooh.
Yeah, boo. But you know what? That's okay. Alex, I've seen your shorts and they're really cool and a little experimental with what you're doing and how crazy they can be for how short they are. And I really like that. I think Reverberance was at, what the hell, Monster Expo last year, right?
Yes, it was.
And
Yes.
you had the other one too. I forget what the name of it was, but it was a tattoo one, right?
Yeah, that was Dark Ink.
Yeah, that one was really, really cool. So go check out his shorts at the Boston Underground Film Festival next
Yes,
week.
thank you for saying that. And if anyone wants to check them out, Reverberance isn't online yet, but it will be eventually. But a bunch of my older shorts, if you look up Lockbridge Productions, Lockbridge one word, on YouTube, you can find a bunch of them.
Cool. I'll link that below for everybody to see.
Thank you.
But I before we jump into all this, I really do have to give you a huge thank you for, sort of, I guess, trusting the show and being like, here's some screeners, go ahead and watch them, review them, here's some interviews, because without your help, I really think that our show would still be so buried between like all the other shows, and having a chance to, support an awesome streaming service that really, I think, outdoes Shudder in so many ways. And you guys are really just beginning again. I know that Screambox was a thing before, and we've talked about this the last time that you were on, but really getting the chance to see these films, a lot of them before anybody else, get like interviews if we're lucky to grab them when they're there. It's honestly amazing. Also, meeting you in person and attending the Outwaters screening was really, really cool. I owe you and Screenbox a very huge thank you for all that you do and trusting us in reviewing these movies.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. That genuinely means a lot. We appreciate it. And it really goes both ways because we're nothing without people who watch our movies. And
True.
you help not only watch them yourself, but you get other people to watch them. You're very active on social media. That was what how we initially connected, and that's what jumped out at me. Um, and yeah, I mean, we genuinely really appreciate the support. Like you said, we are new in terms of this
Yeah.
this version of Screenbox, we should say. Um, and it's I mean, just like podcasts, it's hard to get your name out there with a streaming service. There's so many options out there. So every viewer counts, and we I mean we call it the Screenbox family, and I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but we mean it. Like,
Yeah.
we're It's beautiful to see people like you, people like Jeff, who I know was on one of these recently,
Yep.
um, viewers who are super active, not only in their watching habits, but also in sharing their opinions on social media, tagging us, talking to us about our movies. Like it's awesome. It's a dream job.
Hell yeah. And don't stop doing what you're doing. Seriously.
Deal.
Screambox is like my new home. Like, yeah, we've talked about it before. Like, we still support Shudder and we watch Shudder movies. We've been there for a long time. But the amount of films that Screambox puts out in a month is astonishing. Like, it's ranges from like 10 to 30 titles a month. It is crazy. Uh, it really
Yeah.
is.
When I first started, I came on board Screambox just before Pennywise, the Story of It came out, which was like our first big original title. Um, and back then we were adding like 5, 6 titles a
Yeah.
month, and now we're at, yeah, like you said, dozens sometimes. And it's not all. I mean, we try to do quality as well as quantity, but it's awesome to have as many options as we're able to offer to all of our subscribers.
Oh, yeah. And that's leading into why I'm doing this show, is because you always get people, and I see you answering a lot of people who are asking for recommendations on Screenbox. What should I be watching? And you usually ask them, okay, well, what do you like? What kind of genres are you into, or like what movies are you into? And you list like 5 or 10 to be like, go check these ones out. So yes, this is labeled, Screenbox essential picks, but it's essential to us. It's not like the big ones like Halloween, um, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street, or like Chopping Mall or anything like that. This is more movies that we have watched that we think other people should watch because there's barely anybody watching them. Especially when I go look at reviews, if I want to go find something like on Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of them have no score. And I'm like, okay, so this is why I want to do this. I want to bring attention to these films, because people will probably brush by them because they're like, oh, that looks kind of stupid, or that title is awful. It's like, I never even heard of that. But sometimes when you're scrolling by, like the one that I picked today, Evil Ed, I've had it on my watch list for about a month and a half, and I kept saying, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to do it. And I had a fucking blast. It was great. And Alex, the one that you picked, Doom Asylum, which is very new to Screenbox. So I figured, how would you do this? Since you are the guest, I'll let you kind of talk about your film and why you think this is an essential pick and why people need to go and watch it. I can read the plot for you if you wish.
Yeah, let me hear what you have for the official synopsis, then I'll tell you my bastardization of it.
Okay. So on IMDb, it is stated, a horribly disfigured lawyer wrongfully pronounced dead after a terrible car accident is taken to an asylum for dissection, only to come back alive, kill everyone, and make the asylum his killing grounds. I feel like that's pretty spot on.
I mean, I can't really do better than that, but I can elaborate at least.
I also have the Rotten Tomato score too, if you want to hear
yeah,
that.
what is that?
Well, I'll let you take a guess. So, what do you think the tomato meter is with 3 reviews?
3 reviews. I'm gonna guess a 33.
0. There is no
0.
score.
I did look it up on IMDb, and it had like I forget, a 4.5 or something like that. Which,
yeah, 4.6 out of 10.
yeah, which doesn't completely surprise me because a lot of, like, cheesy 80s horror stuff is very low, but I thought it would at least crack a 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll get into my thoughts in a minute, but to address your first point, I'm glad you prefaced it with why it's called Essentials, because no one in their right mind would really call Doom Asylum an essential pick
No, I wouldn't.
in general. However, when you came to me with Evil Ed, we had just, as I think even that day that you approached me, we had just added Doom Asylum,
Yep, you
and
did.
to be honest, I had not seen it yet. One thing that I love about Screenbox is that we get a bunch of titles that are like, I'm familiar with because either like Arrow or Severin or Scream Factory, like one of the boutique labels, put it out on a disc.
Yeah.
But like, I I have trouble justifying a whatever $25 blind buy if it's something that,
Yeah, I
could go
relate to
either
that.
way. So it's been really cool to just be able to, pop it on for, within your Screambox subscription. And that's what Doom Asylum was. I think Arrow put it out a few years ago, had really cool cover art, and like I
Yeah.
knew it was an 80s slasher, and you had picked, a Evil Ed, which is also, a comedic, but slasher.
That's
Um,
right.
so yeah, this was I wasn't sure if I could call it essential until I got to the end credits, and now I can firmly call it. Well, I shouldn't say firmly. I can vaguely call it essential, based on the parameters you laid out, because it's super fun. Like,
Hmm.
okay, that plot description, if that didn't sell you, let me go a little bit more into it. So yeah, it opens with this car crash, which is like, obviously this movie's very low budget, but the girl loses her hand in the crash like randomly,
Yeah.
but then also dies, and then you think that the guy is also dead, and then spoiler alert, he's alive. Um, but one thing that I want to point out, sorry, I'm gonna go all on all sorts
No,
of
you
tangents
you
here.
you have free reign, my friend.
All right, all right. But one of my favorite like dumb movie tropes is when they have a coroner like eating over a dead body.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
that's it always reminds me of it's in a couple different Friday the 13th movies. It's always like a giant sandwich or something. And
yeah. Something
this in the
absurd.
first yes, in the first like 10 minutes of this, you get the coroner guy eating over this who you think is dead body. Um which is fun. But yes, so he turns out he's alive. He has he's disfigured. He has a face. He kind of looks like a low budget version of Frank from Hellraiser with a little bit of Freddy Krueger mixed in there.
Oh, you know what? That's a
Uh,
good way of putting that.
yeah, because his face is like skinned, but like it's
Yeah,
it's like rubbery. Like it looks more like it doesn't look like the wet, bloody
yeah,
look that
yeah.
Frank
It's
has. It's
very
more.
good effects. I
Well,
will
that's what I
have
was
to
gonna say.
say.
Yeah, for its budget, like the effects are decent. The killer is pretty cool. They do make him. They try to make him Freddy like by giving him all these bad one liners, which is doesn't necessarily work. But okay, so he's alive. He kills those doctors, and then it cuts to 10 years later, and he's become like this urban legend. It's like going to Crystal Lake in the Friday the 13th
Yeah.
movie. So this group of friends go to this, abandoned asylum. They go trespassing there. And they also run into these like, I don't know, over the top punk gang friends. I don't even know what you call.
It's very weird. And everybody is like really over the top in this too, but I
Yeah.
like it though because it adds to the cheese. And the
Yeah.
cheesier the movie, the better for me.
Well, this one, I mean, you talk about cheesy, but one thing I do want to point out, it is a horror comedy. It's hard to tell exactly how much is intentional, especially those first 10 minutes. It seems like they're trying to just doing a run of the mill,
Yeah.
late 80s slasher, trying to cash in on the trend. But as it progresses, it's apparent that, the writer and director were definitely trying to make something funny. Now, I definitely think there's some unintentional stuff that snuck in there that makes it even more enjoyable. But there's some like obviously a lot of it's dated, but there's some like genuinely funny stuff. There's like a recurring joke where the there's a girl that who lost her mom, whose mom passed away, so she starts calling her boyfriend mommy, which
Mom.
is like kind of kind
Mom.
of foreshadows the like the daddy kink trend that it's
Yeah.
just like a weird but they do it for laughs. Like there's no way they were doing that, intentionally, unintentionally.
Yeah, yeah.
Um so yeah, there's some genuine laughs, and then there's also like so bad it's good kind of cheese mixed in, and the line between the two blurs, and like I'm okay with that. It's super entertaining. And that's kind of why I was so surprised about the rating. Like again, I no one's gonna call this high art, no one's gonna give this a perfect 10,
No,
but
I
like
wouldn't.
it's yeah. But I left with like, a smile on my face. Like it was like also another benefit, 78 minutes. That's,
Yes,
it
yes.
doesn't overstay its welcome. It knows what it is, gets in, gets out. Although speaking of the runtime, it intercuts, it's intercut with clips from like old black and white movies, including a version of Sweeney Todd from the 30s.
Yeah, that was
And
really
it's
cool.
it's yeah, some of them are like really well timed with the story. Like there's a scene where somebody you like think they get thrown off a building, then it cuts to an old clip of someone like falling down.
Yeah.
Others sometimes just feels like it's in there to pad the runtime, but like thematically it makes sense. It was like an interesting choice, and I do wonder if this movie came in at whatever 70 minutes and they had to get it a little longer for distributor. But now it just comes off as like an interesting choice.
Yeah, I would
But
love to see this in a theater with people,
oh
honestly.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, I mean those are my general thoughts on Doom Asylum. I do think it's more fun, more entertaining than it has any right to be, particularly with its low rating. And yeah, it has cult classic written all over it. I'm surprised it doesn't have more people talking about it.
Well, hopefully after we release this, people will go and watch it, and
That's
then
right.
let's be
That's
talking
right.
about it. That's the plan. But yeah, Doom Asylum is really, really fun. Um, I picked an equally crazy film. I think it might actually kind of overdo Doom Asylum in the way that the pacing is and how everything is just so exaggerated, and it's really, really funny. But yeah, Doom Asylum is definitely one you need to check out. Um,
Oh,
there's so many things on Screambox, man.
one thing I did mention, Doom Asylum, it's Kristen Davis of Sex and the City fame. It's her first movie. And Patty Mullen, Frankenhooker herself, is the final girl. So it's like always fun to see. I think it was maybe Patty Mullen's first movie too, or at least an early one.
I think I read
Um,
that somewhere because I did a little bit of research on this
yeah,
when it was added, and also when you suggested it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right.
yeah.
Unless
It's always fun to see like how many big name. I mean, not that Mullen's really a household name, but like just how many people get their start in the genre. It's always exciting.
yeah, I love doing that stuff and finding gems because these are essentially like hidden gems in my
Yeah.
opinion, especially Evil Ed, which I guess we'll get into right now. But yes, please go make sure you go check out Doom Asylum. And I always say this when I do these is do a double feature. Watch this one and then watch the other one, or vice versa. Like the last one we did was Hell House LLC and Killer Party. So Hell House is a little bit more in your face scares, where Killer Party is an 80s slasher with some pretty good music, good kills, and a wild finale. So I suggested watch Hell House first, so that way you get your scares, and then to kind of bring yourself down, go put on Killer Party. That's what I suggest. I think that's a great pairing just for that. This episode is a really good pairing because they're both, essentially horror comedies, very over the top, really good effects, honestly, for them being, low budget and in the 80s. Actually, I think, no, Evil Ed's actually 95.
Yeah, yeah.
So it feels like an 80s movie, though.
It very much does. I mean, no one was making, very few people were making slashers, at least good slashers, you know, between 89 and 96 when Scream came out.
Yeah,
Obviously there's exceptions to that rule, but it does feel very much in the vein of the late 80s, like Doom Asylum, where somebody's just kind of trying to capitalize.
yeah. I agree on that. Like, you might as well just call this an 80s film. That's what I'm doing. But I have the plot here for Evil Head. It is a mild-mannered film editor is assigned to cut a series of infamous slasher films and is driven murderously insane by the miles of extremely violent footage he edits. So it's a tale as long as time. Like, you watch all these movies and you're gonna end up going to kill people. It's like with video games, like, oh, you're playing this violent video game, it's gonna rot your brain and you're gonna go and kill people. So it's kind of playing on that. This is the 90s, so this is around the time where there was a lot of censorship, a lot more than in the 80s. So you can see why this movie was kind of picking at it, and you actually see like the film editors, and they're saying, "No, why are you cutting that?" Because they bring in this guy Ed, who they don't even like really discuss where he was, but it looked like he was maybe in the drama section in whatever company he was in, and then he gets called over to the slasher section, and he opens up the door and it's like like you're in a rock star palace. There's like music playing. You got this like super over the top film director, and in the beginning of the film it actually starts off pretty heavy with the effects and everything. I think it is the same guy who's running that business, right? And it was like his old editor or something, because he was like throwing like films and stuff at him. I think.
Oh, I don't even think I pieced that together, but you're probably right.
I think that's what it is. I have to rewatch it because this film has a lot of stuff going on in it.
It's weird because the first 10 minutes you have no idea what's happening. Like
No, you get thrown.
there's the old guy going crazy, and then you have the open credit sequence, and then you get this black and white German drama.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I
you
was
learn that that's
so
a film
oh
within
my
the
god.
film, and it's weird, but in like a fun, endearing
Yeah,
way.
I was so confused because it opened up with that, and then you go to the black and white. I'm like, oh my god, is the rest of the film like this? I thought they tricked me, but no, it's just him at his desk editing. So Ed gets transferred over, and then he has to go and edit these films. They're called oh crap, what the hell is it? It's is it
Loose limbs.
loose limbs? I keep wanting to say severed limbs, but like loose limbs, like 8 and 7, like something absurd, and like you see what's happening in the film. There's a lot of blood and gore, and you got boobs and everything in it. And he's at home and he's like editing all that stuff out because where he came from before, I guess it just needed to you had to censor. So it's essentially the censorship being like cut the stuff out, but the guy who's owning like the slasher section of this film company is like, no, we got to keep that stuff in. What are you doing? Like he was even saying like what is it, the badger rape scene or something like that.
Yes.
He's like, where is
thankfully,
that?
thankfully they only refer to it. They don't show that
Yes,
part.
yes, yes. It was like, what the hell? But it's a blast. There's you slowly start to see Ed kind of like lose it, and he starts like seeing things in real life. And then there's like an other like side of him is like his family. He's supposed to go and see his daughter for her birthday at a certain time on a Sunday, and then later on in the film it finally cuts back to that it being that day, and like the time's ticking down. And then there's this other boy who works in the same department who is essentially like the delivery boy, Nick. And he has to go bring the films over to Ed, and then it just does not end well at all. Really good
Or
effects in
anyone
it.
involved.
The acting is actually pretty good, but I couldn't tell if this is an overdub film. I couldn't find anything on it because it looked like some parts may have been dubbed over.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think the film is originally from Germany.
That's what it looked like because
I
the
want to
whole
say.
cast has like German names.
Yeah, but I think maybe the lead guy is speaking English because I mean I think it is a dub, but it seems to match pretty close. I'm not
That's
sure
why I
to
was
be
really like,
honest.
what's going on here?
Yeah, I think it was like one of the old Italian productions. Like some people are speaking English, some people are
Yeah,
speaking Italian or whatever the native language is. And
yeah,
yeah, kind of adds to the weirdness though in a fun way.
yeah. It's a batshit film, and then at the end you get to like the psych ward, and oh my god, there's a lot of cheesy one-liners in here, and they also take one-liners from other films,
Yeah.
and they throw it in here. Like my favorite scene is at the end is when Ed is like full-blown crazy, and they bring in like a military team, and they have like the sergeant who's going in there, and then like everybody dies. It's so over the top, but it's so fun. There's a lot of blue in this film. Like they decided to use blue as like their main color.
It looks kind of like your setup right now.
Yes, exactly.
You could be
Just
an
with a
evil
lot
Ed.
more like blood everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's a super fun film. We're not going to go fully into all these films, but just kind of gloss over some of the things and explain why these films are really really fun. I don't know. You just have to watch these movies for yourself to really understand how crazy they are, because they are. This is like a popcorn night. Like if you want to be at home, say you have like one or two friends over, and you want to watch something crazy, put these two films on. It doesn't even matter which way you want to watch them.
I was thinking that when you're talking about the viewing order of the last episode, which I agree with, but this one it kind of doesn't really matter. They're very similar tonally.
Yeah.
But both super fun. I probably go Evil Ed first. But I don't know. I mean, they're both good. Also, I didn't mention before it, but Doom Asylum has just an insane, not in a gory way, an insane kill at the end.
Oh
That
yeah.
I mean, I won't spoil it, but yeah, so that'd be like a fun note to end your night on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Evil Ed. Well, I'm a sucker for movies about making movies because I'm obviously trying to be a filmmaker as well. Also has some really good like puppety creatures, even though they're not
Yeah.
in it for too long.
The fridge creature. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Sucker for that kind of thing too. So yeah, it's a fun one. it has this what do you call it, like a handmade quality to it, but in like like it's like early like Peter Jackson, Sam Raimi, Stuart
Yeah, that's a
Gordon,
good way of putting
that
it.
kind of realm. It has that like kinetic energy to it. It's not quite as good as those, or as like the filmmaking chops aren't quite there. It's also not quite. That is my one complaint about this is it's bloody. It has good effects. It's gory, but it doesn't quite go as over the top as I want it to, based on the comparison to, like, it's not a Reanimator, it's not an Evil Dead, it's not a Dead Alive in terms of the amount of bloodshed or carnage or anything. But they both have, it's like, there's it's clever satirization of, the film censorship mixed in with this like goofy over the top humor.
Yeah.
Um yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, I like I said, I think I'd go Evil Ed first, then Doom Asylum. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with that one too. You really want to start really, really crazy. And
And
then
this one literally starts crazy with an old guy just
yeah.
going crazy. So
Doom Asylum, it's crazy, but it has a bit of a slower pace to it. But that doesn't really take points off for it at all because of how crazy and cheesy it is. Especially seeing the guy in Doom Asylum use like surgery tools to kill people,
yeah.
which is really really cool. And like the final kill you were talking about it's really cool to watch. But yeah, check both of these out. Get on Screambox. Alex, are you guys still doing any sort of like no free trials or anything over there right now?
We aren't currently. We're actually like restructuring our pricing and stuff. But I'm sure we'll have another promo somewhere down the line. If you're not already on Screambox, it's $4.99 a month, significantly cheaper if you pay annually.
Which I do.
Where thank you. I think we try to make it more than worthwhile. We're one of the cheapest streaming services out there. And yeah, like I said, we try to make it worthwhile. We put every cent back into it, trying to make, the best possible streaming lineup for horror fans out there. Obviously, you mentioned Shudder. I also love Shudder. I think there's room for both. Yeah, we have some cool stuff coming up. In April, we've got Living with Chucky,
Hell yeah.
which I know you've seen. That's a documentary about the Child's Play franchise, directed by the daughter of the special effects artist behind the last several Chucky movies and the series. We also have Holy Shit is coming out next week, and that is an insane. If you like these two movies, you should go definitely go
Yeah.
watch Holy Shit.
Our
It's about a
review on that one will be
guy.
coming out before it gets released, so I'm
Perfect.
excited for that.
Yeah, a guy stuck in a porta potty. So it's like a contained thriller, but like splattery and German, and crazy. And we just announced the Japanese remake of Cube is also coming out in April, which a lot of people are excited about that. I love the original, so it's been really cool to get this one for our subscribers. And yeah, a lot more stuff coming up down the pike in the rest of the year. We have RoboDoc, a multi-part documentary on the original RoboCop. We have a documentary about Robert Englund, from the team who did Pennywise: The Story of It. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of exciting stuff.
Yeah, and I really do have to agree with you saying that you're giving everybody a bang for the buck. You really are with the amount of titles that you're putting out and whatnot. Like, you just can't go wrong with at least getting a month because you're
Well, that's
gonna
what I.
what's that?
I was just gonna say. I always tell people, like, if you're, I understand being weary about dropping, whatever to on a full year, but I think if you put down that $5, you skip a coffee one day or whatever,
Yeah,
you put down $5, you will see that it is worth that money. You might not, you might not like the first movie you watch, but I think if you look into the catalog, we have everything by category. So if there's a certain subgenre you're into, I think you'll find it's more than worthwhile. And like you said, we add a bunch every month to continue to make it worth your money. And if you don't know what to watch, again, as you alluded to earlier, if you tweet at me or on Instagram, we're at Screenbox TV on both. I run them both. So if you tell me some of your favorite movies or subgenres, I will make, personalized recommendations on what I think you'll like based on those.
yep. And they also have the TV section where if you want to just throw it on in the background. You can go over to that tab and just put on a channel. Like they got the Bloody Disgusting channel over there. They got other things. Like there's a lot on this service that a lot of people probably don't realize is there.
I was just going to say
Because
that. I think, yeah, it often gets overlooked. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Because we also we have some partner channels that are not, not made by us, but we partner with them to broadcast them, including like Shout Factory has their own channel
mhm,
that does some really cool stuff. We have a Mystery Science Theater 3000, which
I
just
love
plays
that
Mystery
one.
Science Theater and Riff Tracks 24/7. It's awesome. Yeah, plus a bunch of cool stuff, including some that leans into like other genre, like related genres. There's like an action one, there's a sci-fi one. So yeah, very excited that you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, because this, like, when you go to a streaming service, you think you just, I'm going to go to the library and that's all that there is. Screenbox offers so much more for such less than like anything else. Like you said, you are like essentially the cheapest streaming platform. And that's why I love supporting you, because you bring a lot of indie films here. You bring a lot of lower budget films where you see all these other companies, like even Shudder right now, they've been trying to bring more like mid tier, I want to say, like films there, and a lot more exclusive. And they're not really dabbling too much in older films. If you look at their release schedules lately, it's been kind of lackluster, in my opinion. And if you put it up against Screenbox, you're like, okay, if I'm gonna look at both of these, obviously I want you to support both, right? I want you to support both platforms. But if you are trying to decide, okay, my month is up, I might not renew it. And if you look side by side, here's Shudder and here's Screenbox. You're gonna look at Screenbox and be like, how many fucking films is that? You're like, what? Okay. And you'll see the exclusives, and sometimes you guys have a hidden, like a secret film that you have to wait until later on in the month, which I think is awesome. It's really, really fun to be on this service, and the community for it has been growing a lot over the past, I want to say, like 2 or 3 months, more than I think it's ever been. And I'm super excited to see how far Screenbox goes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to basically Terrifier 2 dropped in October, and that was a real game changer for us in a variety of ways. Got us a bunch of new subscribers, got us just more public awareness, but also with those new subscribers, gave us a little bit bigger budget to get more titles. And some of the because some people look at our lineup and just say like, I've never heard of any of these, and they'll mistake obscurity with a lack of quality,
Yeah,
which I think is kind of a fatal flaw, because we deal with, particularly in our originals and exclusives, a lot of foreign titles that you literally can't see in the US other than on Screenbox, um, which I think is exciting. Like this
I
Cube
love it.
remake, it came out in Japan already, but nowhere else can you see it in North America. So it's exciting to kind of get new voices out there. Not just, we also have indie films from the US, but it's also kind of cool to get that international flavor, which Shudder also does very well, I have to say. Uh, but yeah, there's obviously room for everyone in the sandbox, and yeah, I'm very proud of what we've done so far. And yeah, we had that Terrifier 2, and then we rode that into the Outwaters, and we're just gonna keep that train rolling with Chucky and beyond.
Hell yeah, man. I'm so excited. And it's awesome to be able to call you a friend too, and, meet every now and then and just kind of talk about this stuff and be horror fans outside of everything. I love that. The community, um, as a horror fan, is amazing. And
Oh,
I owe
absolutely.
so much to the horror genre, and even more to Screenbox, because of how many people we have met, from interviews or anything like that, even maybe some in person that we have met because of Screenbox. It's insane, absolutely insane. I had never thought in a million years that with this podcast, or just talking about horror, would ever lead me down a road where I could help support a platform and talk to people whose films are on said platform and become a friend with somebody who works for the damn platform. It's
That
insane.
that warms my heart. I really do appreciate that. And I'm in the same boat. I pinch myself some days because it's like I was just a guy writing about horror movies on the internet, and now I write for my favorite website and to help run my favorite streaming service. So it's like, yeah, no, it's a dream come true.
Yeah, it really
And get
is.
to talk to cool people like you.
Yeah, and you know, Alex, as always, you are always welcome here.
I'm
Um,
sure I'll be back.
yeah, you will, and we'll make sure Dean's here next time. But I keep saying to everybody, but I like to, let them know again that this is the part of the year where Dean's convention circuit has started up, and he is at a convention every weekend. I think starting last weekend for the next 6 or 7 weeks, he's doing conventions. So he's working a hell of a lot. So my time with him during the week is very limited. So you're going to see a lot more of me with guests and maybe one or two with Dean. But that's only going to be for a little bit because he's going to have some breaks and he wants to focus a lot more on the show. And we want to keep supporting, all these films that are coming out. Like we just put out Scream 6 reviewed as of this recording. That's out today. We have some Screambox reviews coming out and possibly an interview or two with that. And we also have something else that's outside of Screambox that we're going to be covering that I'm really excited about. So there's a lot of stuff happening in our world, and I'm so excited for it. And I love being busy. And Alex, I know that you are the busiest person, so I'm going to let you off the hook now and let everybody go watch these films because this was a blast, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody who watches on Screambox.
Yes, and go support the service. Watch these films. Let your friends know. Let your grandparents know. All right, go tell them to watch Doom Asylum and Evil Ed, and they will have a blast.
Grandma will love it.
All right, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one, and stay spooky.